Replay. Hey to all you replay viewers. My name is Jason Hodge, aka the Jason Hodge, handle online, and I am doing the Harry the Big Dog 100 video challenge, 30 days to make 100 videos. And my aim is to give you some value, hopefully some food for thought, some nuggets to take with you and help you grow your life and your business. And so today I'm talking about strength, and the question is, are you strong enough to ask for help? I did not realize until probably these past few years how much strength it actually does take to ask for help. And we're we live in a world where we have definitions completely screwed up. We don't realize that there is a level of strength, probably more uncommon, to ask for help than to allow yourself to go down. Why won't you ask for help? There's a number of reasons. And I'm not speaking out of the side of my neck here. I know it very well because it took me a moment to get to that point, a long time to get to the point where I felt it was okay to ask for help. And I praise God for the community that He has brought into my life. I've got some amazing friends, and these friends really helped me navigate some of the darkest times in my life. And in the process, I had to learn something, and I hope that this broadcast today will help you whenever you're watching this, whether it be now or a year from now or whenever you happen across this. God has a time and a season for all of us to come across the information that we come across, and we can't control when that is. Nor the content producer can't, and the viewer sure can't. But when it's time, you will see this message. And so hopefully it's something that you need to hear. But I remember when I was running through, just some devastating things in my life, and I'm sure that I will talk about it a little bit more freely, as time goes on. But I remember when, my first set of friends popped up and said, "What do you need?" And my knee-jerk response was, "Oh, no, no, everything's good. Everything's fine." Just totally lying, right? Just totally lying. And I didn't think of it as lying because I didn't grow up in a family where that was okay. We did not regularly reach out to people for help, whether it be in business and personal life. That just was not what we did. And I took that coming up as a sign of weakness and something that we just shouldn't do, because I thought that we were supposed to bear our own burdens. Now, fast forward, okay, 40 plus years in the game, I found myself with one of my friends who said, "Hey, okay, you need some help here." And me and the community, we're just going to surround you and we're going to just be there for you, like we got you covered. And it was a humbling experience, very humbling experience. It was a beautiful experience, actually, and humbling same time. And the humbling was the beauty, because I learned, and I know that I could not have learned this in another way, because it had to be personal to me. But I learned that not only is there nothing wrong with asking for help when you need it, there's everything right with asking for help. The word says that if we lack wisdom, for us to ask God for wisdom. It tells us to ask for us to be given. We have to be at that point where we elicit enough strength. And let me tell you where the strength comes in. Elicit enough strength to put down the pride, of not wanting to appear vulnerable, of wanting to keep up appearances so that others can think that we're strong. And that is the very thing that defines the weakness in us. Whether it's in everyday life or business, when that pride, when you allow the enemy to puff that pride up to you to where you cannot reach out to those in the know and say, hey, you know what, I'm struggling here. I need some help. And be okay with being vulnerable and sharing that vulnerability and not caring what the outcome is, not caring if by your showing your vulnerability that it's going to end in rejection. And I had a great conversation with a friend of mine the other day. And I said, we don't avoid certain conversations or doing certain things because we're truly afraid of being judged. It's not the judgment that we most fear. It's what's on the other side of that judgment. What is potentially on the other side of that judgment that we fear? Because on the other side of that judgment could very well be ridicule and then ultimately rejection. And the rejection is the thing that we run from. So in being vulnerable enough to ask for the help and being vulnerable enough to just allow the stuff in my life to be on display and to be able to openly and honestly answer questions that came up in the midst of the many conversations that I've had over the time, it was freeing. I was able to talk about things that have bothered me for years that I was not able to own and to face and to deal with. And I saw how that affected my relationships. I saw how that affected my business. I saw that how that affected even the filter through which I viewed the world and that I heard people when they spoke to me. The lens that we look at life through when we are guarded and protected, it is bondage. And that bondage, it impacts everything about us. You know, I realized that there is no true freedom when we don't have the strength to be courageous enough to ask for help. And there's no growth either. Because until we're able to ask for help, until we engage that God-given strength to reach out and say, hey, I'm running on empty over here. And I don't know if you have the solution to my problem, to my challenge here, but I'm sure going to reach out and ask just in case you do. Perchance you have it. I'm going to reach out to you now and ask you if it's something that you can give or something that I can get from you. In whatever the terms are, let me know what that is. But I need the help. And then pausing and hearing what the response is. Now, if the response is, hey, I can't help you, that's okay. There's 7+ more billion people on the planet. And one of them, God is assigned, at least one of them, God is assigned to help you. So you go on the hunt. And the hunt you go on is you pray. You say, Father, I need you to direct me to the help that you've assigned to me. I'm hurting or I'm broken. I'm at my wit's end, whatever that is. Whatever the truth is of that conversation, you speak that out. And it's not that God doesn't know it. It's that you need to be okay with owning it. You know, I had to get okay with owning it. And so in that process of reaching out to him and saying, look, I don't know what to do here. I am terrified of the possibilities of what could happen here. So I need your help, and I don't know the first way to start looking for it other than asking you. And after that, I saw him just open up a floodgate of help, not only in my life and my relationships and things like that, also in my business, but I saw him open things up internally for me where all of a sudden everything became okay to just be and to move in what it is that he's given me. To not have it have to be a certain way, but to accept it for what it is and know that he gives the increase. So I'm not going to make this long, but I wanted to jump on here because I think it's an important thing. We don't spend enough time being vulnerable. We don't spend enough time being vulnerable in our relationships. We don't spend enough time being vulnerable in our businesses. We act like we have to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses don't even keep up with the Joneses, instead of recognizing that God's given us value. And it's not value that is defined by anybody else but him. And it's fashioned for those who it's fashioned for. If you have a gift, a skill, an ability, you have to trust God and be okay with stepping out on that without having everything extra polished. Okay? And trust me, believe me when I say this. I come from the world of polished. Okay? Media is and was my background. And so in order to release something like, I would never have done something like this, a live stream, without having a backdrop. I mean, right now you see the stuff from my program with my food culinary stuff. Of course, that's me. I love food, right? Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But nonetheless, we have to be okay with just stepping out. We have to be. Because if we don't, there's nothing for God to perfect because we're not moving. We're not trusting him. We got to trust him in business and in life. We've got to trust him with our emotions. We've got to trust him with our shortcomings. We've got to trust him with everything about us and know that as we continue to move on purpose, that he's going to bring to us those things that we need to sharpen us. Iron sharpens iron. He's going to bring people into our lives that are going to ruffle our feathers. He's going to bring situations that we're going to have to address that are uncomfortable. He's going to present us with areas that we're going to have to take a stand in. Because in that process, there's going to be a falling away of people. There's going to be a reckoning where you have to come to terms with yourself. You have to understand, and I do it daily, understand where you're coming from and why, and the cost of being there. There are certain stances that you take in life that on closer examination have nothing to do beyond, with more than beyond your emotions. And you've got to move out of the emotions and listen to what God is saying on a circumstance. Okay? I won't get too far into that, not in this conversation, but I want to encourage you. Ask for help and be okay with that. Be okay with the answer. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. And it's not, that wasn't the point. The point was for you to develop the strength and the backbone to ask for the help and the thick enough skin to take a no and be okay with the no and move on to the next ask. Sometimes that exercise is what's necessary in order to build us up, to get us to the next part of our destination. That series of no's and then the determination that is built that despite the no's from this person and this person and this person in this industry, I'm going through because this is what God has given me. I'm purposed for this. So I'm moving through this. I'm getting to the finish line. And I'm not going to allow a person's no to stand in my way. I'm going to hold God's hand and I'm going to move on purpose to the finish line. So, are you strong enough to ask for help? There's an acronym there, and there's a story behind that acronym. Talk about that later. But this is video number 44. No, 45, I think it is. Yes, 45. So I'm hoping that this was some good value for you. It was good value for me. I'm listening just like you're listening. And, you know, may it be something that'll help you grow in life and in business. I'm going to tell you that for me, it was a pivotal point in my life when I learned to ask for help. And I learned to be okay with what the response was. And I learned to be okay with the possibility of rejection. Because once I got there, it opened the door for me to go through pretty much any door. Because now the sting of what if I'm rejected on the other side of this ask, that was removed. What if I take the stand over here and I ask for help here and folks leave? What if I actually get the help? More often than not, I've gotten the help.